Okay, everyone. We have a lot to get through today, so I'm going to go ahead and just give an overview of our team, what we're doing here. So I'm Anissa Colon. I am the program manager here at Aurora Foundation. This year, our Giving Circle is focused on human trafficking. So thank you all for showing up today and really supporting this cause. I'm just going to give an overview of how today is going to go. Before I do that, I do want to mention that my colleagues are here. Talia is here. So is Sarah, and so is Jenny, our director. Um, so again, thank you all so much for joining us. Today we are joined by two incredible organizations that are doing on-the-ground work to support human trafficking survivors in Connecticut and in some cases beyond. So today we're going to be hearing from CIRI's Project Rescue for the first 20 minutes, and then we're going to have 10 minutes for questions for them, and then we will be hearing from another organization, Love 146, for 20 minutes, and then we'll have 10 minutes of questions for them. As they are presenting, they likely will be sharing their screen, so feel free to pop questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat to make sure that all of your questions are answered. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Genesis to introduce herself, um, and talk a little bit more about Project Rescue.
Thank you so much, Anissa and Jenny and Talia, for inviting me to present to everyone today. I'm very excited to be here. When I met with you guys, it was such a great opportunity to also learn about what the organization is doing. And I think it's great that you guys are getting together to support trafficking survivors. My name is Genesis Polanco. I'm the director for Project Rescue. So I oversee our anti-human trafficking program, rapid housing, and victim support services. So those are victims of other crimes such as domestic violence, sexual abuse, and child abuse. I started at CIRI in 2019. I was the only case manager serving the state, providing services to trafficking survivors throughout the state. Since then, the program has grown, not as much as we would like to, but big enough that now we're a team of 6. So we have 4 case managers and a staff attorney that provides immigration legal services to the minor victims of trafficking. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my PowerPoint here. Wait 1 second here. Okay, here it is. I mean, where did the presentation go? And then just let me know, Talia, if you can see
Yes. Yeah, we
from
can
the
see.
beginning. Yes, okay, great. Okay, so here's our new headquarters. For those of you that know CIRI or don't know CIRI, we used to be in a very small space before where the Bridgeport office was 3 different offices. But as of October of last year, this is our new space. We're located right next to LifeBridge. And it's much bigger space, the 3 offices combined into one. So it had just been a great space for us, for the staff and for the clients, because we were able to increase capacity for a lot of our services. So again, so CIRI is a statewide nonprofit organization that serves the entire state of Connecticut. We do have offices, like I mentioned, in Bridgeport. We have one in Hartford, in New Haven, in Stamford, and Waterbury. The great thing about having offices throughout the state is that it really helps the staff and the clients just meet in office if they need to. And because I know transportation is a huge barrier for a lot of the clients. So just being able to go wherever it's closest to them is a huge plus for us. But we also try to meet them exactly where they're at. So a lot of the clients also prefer to meet in their homes. They prefer to meet in the community, just wherever they feel comfortable, even sometimes virtual. For a lot of our younger clients, they do prefer to communicate mostly through text messages or like FaceTimes or Zoom meetings. So we just try to make it as accessible as possible to all of our clients. And then who are CIRI clients? So our clients are immigrants and refugees, is in our name, but also victims of crime. Like I mentioned, that includes the trafficking survivors, domestic violence, sexual abuse, and child abuse, and then unaccompanied minors. Unaccompanied minors is a child under the age of 18 that enter the US, usually cross the border without a parent or legal guardian. So we do receive a lot of those clients that also happen to be trafficking survivors. CIRI offers services to all ages. So they do have special programming that's designed for birth to 5, school-age children, working adults, stay-at-home, seniors, and those also that have maybe some disability. We serve all races, ethnicity, and then 95% of our clients are low to middle income population. So the data for 2025 is that CIRI serves 5,054 clients throughout the state of Connecticut. So that's and when it says unique clients served, that means sometimes clients receive multiple services within CIRI. So that client can only be counted once. So for example, on Project Rescue, sometimes we have a client that might be receiving case management services with one of our case managers, but they might also be receiving rapid housing services with our other case manager, and then legal services. So that one client is receiving multiple services, but it can only be counted once. And then from that 5,054 clients we served, the breakdown was 1847 for just refugee clients, 528 were victims of crime under Project Rescue, 106 were unaccompanied children, also under Project Rescue. And then for other immigration legal services, that was 2573, which includes other immigration reliefs. That could be family-based petition, that can be asylum cases, special immigrant juvenile status for those unaccompanied children, since they usually have to be connected to a sponsor here in the state. And it can be other type of relief, such as citizenship and other things that they came in through the legal department for. Excuse me. Out of the 5,054 clients, they all came from 111 countries that we served in 2025. Our top 10 countries are listed here, is where Haiti was 663 clients, Ukraine 563. We do have specific programming designed for that population, and there was an influx in the last year. Guatemala is 380 clients. A lot of the Project Rescue clients usually come from Central and South America, Mexico, and then from time to time we do get other countries in the Caribbean, so Dominican Republic, Cuba, Jamaica. Sometimes we do receive some from, we had a family from Turkey, and then for the most part, the big majority is Central and South America. And then in terms of where the clients were located in Connecticut, we actually ended up serving 125 towns. So that was 74% of the towns in Connecticut were covered by CIRI services. And again, that just shows that we're kind of covering a big portion of the state with the services by being spread out in terms of offices, but also because we do try to meet them where they're at. So ensuring that even if they cannot make it to an office, we come to them wherever they are residing in Connecticut to receive the services that they need. And then in terms of the services being offered at CIRI, so our strategic approach is based on our mission, which is always going to be empowering immigrants, refugees, survivors of human trafficking, and unaccompanied minors to thrive in Connecticut. The family that we're serving and the children that we're serving, they're coming to the state, a lot of them for the first time. So we just want to make sure that we are strengthening the lives and the communities by providing what they need, which is usually legal, economic, linguistic, and social services. So that way we can help them thrive in this new environment that they're in. So we really want to focus on this client like wraparound services. And now that we have the space to do so, like you can see how the shift has been and how we're able to even increase the capacity in ESL classes. So now we're able to serve more clients for English language learning, for youth, school, and engagement. There's a lot of services being offered now in site where it's support groups. Some of them is talking about like health and wellness. Some can be about what does it mean to live in the United States, in Connecticut. Some of them are talking about their rights, immigration. Some of them can be about how do you even make an appointment if you need to call a medical care provider to schedule physical or dental checkup? So they really try to incorporate English language learning, but also a lot of support groups that can help support the parents and the children. Something that they notice is also the clients were coming with their smaller child and they're not able to fully engage in the ESL courses. So now they're trying to also have a special programming for those little ones. That way they can also have like enrichment activities when their parents are in class, and they can also be working with a case manager and doing those activities. Immigration legal services is a huge component of our organization. A lot of the clients come in and schedule consultation because they need some form of immigration relief. So for Project Rescue specifically, we get a lot of referrals internally because the clients come in and they say, I'm in a bad situation. I'm working at this place and this is what's happening, but they think is more so that they are in that situation because they are undocumented. And then after they're screened, the attorney then says, no, you're actually in a trafficking situation. And then that's how they then get connected to Project Rescue for ongoing services. Employment services is also a huge component of the services we want to offer. So that's our economic empowerment program. And for that program, there's a lot of job readiness that they are doing with the clients in terms of workshops for specific trades, resume, cover letters. How do you even apply for jobs? A lot of the jobs now are online. So we have now a computer tech lab that they have staff supporting clients, just filling out an application and where to go whenever they want to submit their information. Right now with Project Rescue clients, historically in the past, they were not able to access some of the refugee services because they were very grant specific. But now that we have the space, we're trying to move away from the federal grant eligibility requirement. We want to move away from that and make sure that all clients can access the same services no matter what their journey was that led them to CIRI. So right now we've been referring a lot of our Project Rescue clients to connect with economic empowerment. Even if they don't have their work permit yet, they're still able to do other enrichment, job readiness activities until their immigration process goes through. So we've been referring as of this year to that program, and they've been able to support our clients. And then with health support services, again, there are some clients that come in that have very intensive medical needs that requires more hands-on case management support. So our health support services can provide that hands-on case management to scheduling appointments, if there's like any surgeries that needs to be scheduled, any coordination of specialists that takes time and the clients don't really know how to navigate. It can be also, let's say, if they don't have insurance or they need to apply for free care, helping them with the application process and submitting the proper documentation. So besides clients and partnerships, volunteers at CIRI is a huge component. Without them, we would not be able to do a lot of what we do. And we're so grateful that in 2025, we were able to, we received support from 160 volunteers and interns, and they provided 6,000 hours of services to clients and staff. For Project Rescue specifically, our interns are usually in their undergrad or grad program, and they come in to support the survivors with drafting any community resource guide. They sometimes help with kind of like facilitating and helping the case manager with those appointment scheduling, because sometimes it requires a lot of follow-ups. They help with kind files, so like administrative tasks or like any data entry, or even sometimes just researching some things that might be happening in home country, just so we can be up to date with whatever situation is happening in their home country that they're coming into the agency with, so we can be a little more aware of what's going on. But also volunteers help with client transportation, so to medical appointments, to fingerprint appointment, legal services and administrative tasks, just helping with paperwork, English language learning classes, with after school programs. We have, and also summer academy. For apartment setups, we have a great faith organizations that help setting up the apartments for new arrivals, and now they're trying to also help support the Project Rescue clients. to ensure that they have furniture, household items, because those can be very expensive. And sometimes the clients don't have the means to get that. And when we try to refer them to community, other partner organizations, there's usually a wait list. So we want to ensure that we can help support them with those items that they need when they move into a new apartment. And then translation services. Sometimes the clients need help with documents, birth certificates that can expedite their applications. So we have volunteers that help translating those documents from the original language to English. And most of the volunteers and interns are usually local college or high school students, individuals who are passionate about CIRI's mission, or members for faith organizations, or sometimes former clients that they want to be able to support. And or if they have a trade they want to like give back. We have a former client that's a pastry chef, and he now wants to see how he can get involved and do like a support group and teach other clients how to bake some pastries. Um,
Genesis, quick
yes.
question, just for the sake of time, just because we're about to start getting into the question portion. I know you spoke to me about how, like, a lot of people don't even know that they're being trafficked, but the way that you find out is through this case management. Can you talk a little bit more about like that transition, how they're not even typically able to identify that, and how Project Rep
Mhm.
and it being placed at an immigration center is really important. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, of course. Yes. So, as I mentioned, usually our referrals come through the Immigration Legal Services Department. So the client comes in, schedules a consultation because they're in a difficult situation, and then through that screening that the attorney does, they then find that they're in a labor trafficking situation, sex, or both. So Project Rescue serves all victims of trafficking, female, male, child, and they lost my train of thought. Sorry. Yeah, so they come in, and then the oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I lost my train of thought. They come in and speak to the attorney, and then the attorney, after the screening, identify that they might be eligible for immigration relief, which is the T visa application. And then we receive the referral to provide that comprehensive case management services. So Project Rescue provides the case management, advocacy, and then refers to community service providers. We try to do holistic services that are tailored to meet each individual survivor and their family member. So usually when the case manager meets with the individual, they try to kind of assess again the basic needs and try to assess what their long-term and short-term goals are. A lot of the times that entails into connecting again to community health centers because they haven't had a physical in a long time. Sometimes it can be to they need a dental checkup. For mental health services, we have a great partnership with the Center for Family Justice. So when we have a minor victim that needs therapy or clinical services, we're able to refer to them so they can receive that support with a trilingual clinician that specializes in trafficking survivor. And then we also meet bi-weekly at the multidisciplinary team meetings to ensure that we're collaborating and providing that wraparound services to the minor victim and their family. A huge component of our program is rapid rehousing. So those for victims that are fleeing or attempting to flee from trafficking. So we're able to help them with locating an apartment, and then provide that financial support, which is a security deposit, first month's rent, and they can be in that program up to 24 months. And with that comes also the case management component to ensure that they are able to sustain the unit once the assistance ends. And with that also comes the utilities, they get the allowance. The access to public benefits is also a huge component of the services that we provide. Unfortunately, as of this past year, that has been limited to just health insurance. So in the past, they were able to receive benefits to the same extent as a refugee. So that included food stamp cash assistance and then Husky. But now, unfortunately, has since changed. So now we're trying to support them with other things such as grocery gift cards, so they can continue supporting their families. So we're able to provide that monetary support once a month. That way they can, try to continue supporting their families. So employment assistance already covered what we do with that, as well as education and ESL courses. Then I know I'm running out of time. I'm so sorry. In terms of like an impact story that I wanted to kind of share, just to kind of highlight how the services that they receive under Project Rescue come together. This is a referral that we received through the MDT process. The four young girls, they were related to one another, were all victimized by the same individual. And they were brought up in case review. So they went through a forensic interview. And then during this MDT process, usually CCF, law enforcement, prosecutors, advocates, and then we at CIRI and Love 146 are also part of that meeting. And they were trying to figure out what were the needs that the family had and how we can best support them. So they referred to us for services. And because the victimization occurred in the same place that they reside, they needed to move from that place in order for the girls to be able to address their mental health and the traumatic experience they suffered. So we were able to house both families in record time in their own apartment, one in Bridgeport, one in Stratford. They were housed in October, and since then they've been receiving rental support, utility support. They've been receiving gift cards. The girls all engaged. They're all enrolled in mental health services. The 18-year-old, because she came to us after turning 18, she didn't have health insurance and she was not eligible to apply for Husky. So we were able to apply for victim compensation and she was approved and she's receiving services at LifeBridge. So she is free of cost because the application covers it. They are thriving in school, they're active in sports. One of them even is already saying that she's ready to testify against her aggressor, which is a huge progress since when we first started working with her. And she's already starting her first semester of college. They received various donations because of the case management support. They tried to connect them with any needs that they might have. So they were able to get some bikes for the family, some household items. During Christmas times, they didn't have a tree, so we were able to get them a tree and decorations, and they got toys, and then just like some of the basic needs, which is like clothing, winter things, boots, and things like that. So yeah, that's a great story. We have many more, as I'm sure you, Love 146 and other programs have, but this one was a great way to show how this one family was able to receive multiple services within one program, and then we were able to collaborate with the partner agencies for those that we couldn't meet internally. And their immigration legal services is going along, is pending, and it's going to be a little delayed since right now there's a backlog in T visa application, about 45,000 applications. So we're looking at about a 9-year time frame for T visas to be approved, which just further prolong the family obtaining their work permits and Social Security and things like that. And then this is just wanted to share a picture of Project Rescue staff. And again, we're small but mighty, and they all do so much great work. And I'm so grateful to be part of this program and the organization. Thank you. Sorry if I spoke a little too fast. I'll stop sharing now, Anissa. Leave some time for questions. I think you're muted.
Sorry.
No.
I'm just going to go over some of the questions and sentiments in
Yeah,
the chat. So just a lot of appreciation for how wraparound your services are.
thank
We have
you.
a question. There are so many ways you support people and families. Are there any gaps that your organization has identified specifically for supporting survivors of human trafficking?
Yeah, so right now the biggest gap for us is the loss of benefits. So because we were able to support them with applying for the food stamp cash assistance, and that's no longer the case, that's where we're coming into a bit of a barrier because their T visa process is going to be prolonged and it's going to be much longer now because now when they get their T visa, historically they were able to access benefits, but now they won't be able to access benefits until they get their green card. In that T visa, you would have to wait 9 years now. Then you have to wait 3 years to have the T visa, and then you can apply for a green card. So you're talking about over 10 years before they can access any benefits. And then also with housing, like permanent supportive housing, they're not able to access. So rapid rehousing is great, but it's only 24 months. And it's a low barrier program and it's housing first. So it's great that they can receive that, but that's only 24 months. And then they're waiting for their to have their status for much longer after that. So then they're not able to um, access like those vouchers, permanent supportive housing. So right now is the food. So the grocery gift cards we're assisting with, we're getting a lot of donations that they can come to the office and pick up. So we're connecting with a lot of local food pantries and banks and food shares. Usually also like utilities. So we try to provide some support with that, but and try to help them enroll in any energy assistance programs. But right now is the benefits for our population that we're struggling with.
Is there anything that can happen at the state or government level to help fill the gaps left by the loss of those federal
Yeah,
benefits?
so that's what we've been doing a lot of outreach, a lot of community events, reaching out to the state. Our president and CEO Susan speaks to a lot of like the senator, legislator, trying to get more funding to be able to support the clients with the groceries, and we were able to receive some, which was great. So now we're able to support at least the rapid rehousing clients, like a one-time support, what they would have gotten from DSS benefits. So we're able to give them that, depending on the family size, we can give them around, let's say $900, and then they can stretch that out and be able to use that. So we continue connecting with local partners and the state to continue applying for federal, no, not federal, sorry, state and private foundations or grants.
And how would you possibly use the Aurora grant to help continue to further support survivors in your work?
Okay, so right now that would be the new initiative that we're trying to do, like I mentioned, was the household items. They're very pricey and they can be costly. So we have been collecting donations and our goal is to fill out these laundry baskets with household items as a welcome basket into the house, because it's great that we can get the apartment, but sometimes these families might be walking into an empty apartment and it takes a very long time for them to be able to fill the home. So it would be nice for them to walk with something. And also if we can, with the help of the volunteers, have the full setup the same way that the refugee arrivals have been receiving. That's kind of where we're leaning towards, but it takes a lot of coordination and funds and, the U-Haul truck. And because we are statewide, some of the faith organizations, they're strictly in Bridgeport. So when we have families that are housed in Hartford, we have families in Norwich, New London, it makes it very hard if only our small team is doing the full bulk of the work. And everybody knows moving is not easy. So like trying to set up a full apartment, that's how I feel like it would be, the Aurora Foundation will be very helpful for that family, because that wait list is always long. We always have families waiting to be housed. And because clients are staying in the program for much longer due to their status, we're not able to kind of like move them in and out quicker than we were before. So that would be a great support for this family that are fleeing from trafficking.
Okay, I have one last question before we're going to move on to Love 146. So we learned last week, although the predominance of trafficking is related to immigration, there are others impacted. Do you have any referrals that come from other populations in CT?
Yeah, so our referrals, like I said, we serve all trafficking victims. So we do have citizen-born victims as well. Our referrals can come from private attorneys, from the U.S. State's Attorney's Office as well. So if they are prosecuting a case and they need that case management support or housing support, they refer to us, and we're able to help them with those immediate, like emergency basic needs. We get referrals from other community providers. We get referrals from, if they contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline or the USCRI National Hotline, they're asking for services in Connecticut, and then we get those referrals. So yeah, anybody can really make a referral, and sometimes it can even be like a neighbor. We have sometimes where they say, "Oh, I have a neighbor or a family friend that I think are in a difficult situation," or even they just email the CIRI like info email and say like, "Oh, this is my situation. I need some advice or help," and then that's kind of how we're able to figure out where exactly we can place them for services.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much. That
Thank you
was
so much.
much information. We could still feel free to be typing questions in the chat for Genesis. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Roberta and Thomas to speak about Love 146.
Thank you.
Let me just go on mute. Yeah, no, thanks. Thank you so much. And apologies, Genesis, um if my screen popped up there. I was just testing that out. Let me just go into full screen mode here. Continue to share. There we go. And Anissa, please, I will be showing a short video. Hopefully the audio is with us, but if not, please just interrupt me and then we'll go through. So thanks so much for the introduction, and thank you, Genesis, as well for your inspirational kind of remarks, and always great to see, sister organizations working towards this as we collectively try to prevent trafficking and also care for survivors. So my name is Thomas Myron, and I am the Chief Development Officer for Love 146. As Anissa mentioned, I'm here today with my colleague Roberta Center, who's the Associate Director of U.S. Survivor Care. And we just wanted to start by really thanking the Aurora Women's and Girls Foundation for your time today, and also congratulations on the 25th year anniversary. Your impact, has and continues to make such a positive difference right here in Connecticut. And the 25th anniversary is particularly near and dear to us because we turn 25 next year, so we're right behind you. On that as well. And of course, thank you so much to the Giving Circle for your time, and really looking forward to engaging here today. And when of course, we've known about the foundation for a long time and researching that, there is a tremendous amount in common between our entities with regards to the overlaps, our mission, purpose, values, and geographic footprint as well. And hopefully some of that comes out in what Roberta and I will share with you today, as we want to walk you through some of the background about Love 146, our journey as an organization, but really dive a little bit deeper into our work, including in Connecticut, and our focus, which is to end child trafficking and exploitation through our prevention, education, and survivor care programs. So really looking forward to the conversation and any questions you may have. And I just have to say that while we are nonprofit, and at least my primary job is to raise financial resources, I also want to thank you all and express the appreciation and your commitment to the field of trafficking. I've only lived in the US for 5, 6 years now, but I continue to be shocked about the prevalence of trafficking in the US, including right at home here in Connecticut, and really saddened by the fact that so few people relatively are aware of the problem, and thus not able to take action to prevent or respond to this. So in addition to the financial resources, we're very grateful standing alongside us as we do with you and spreading awareness about this, even though I know that you're all very socially active and continue within that course. So with that, as mentioned, we turn 25 next year. So for nearly 25 years, we have worked within the area of preventing child trafficking and caring for the supporters. But nobody tells the story better than our dear founder, Mr. Rob Moritz. So I'll just share this quick 2-minute video, and then I'll return.
Ready?
Yep. I'm Rob Morris. I co-founded an organization called Love 146. We prevent child trafficking and we care for survivors.
Can you tell us her story?
Well, we don't know her story, and it's not ours to tell. But each of us knows our own story. That's what we can tell.
In 2002, some friends and I connected with an organization that was actively working to combat child trafficking. They invited us to accompany them on an investigation in a Southeast Asian country. Actually, it really wasn't our place, but not understanding that at the time, we went undercover with them into a brothel where they suspected children were being exploited. stood there looking through a glass wall, and on the other side, there were these young girls wearing red dresses. Even the dignity of their names had been stripped away. Instead, each girl had a number pinned to her dress. Menus were being handed out with prices for different acts, listing each girl by number. The children sat so still. They were all watching cartoons on crackling little television sets, all except for one girl. She was staring in our direction with this piercing gaze. In my heart, I hoped it was defiance. I thought I was going to see the issue of human trafficking that night. Instead, I saw a person, and I'll never forget her face, that look. I'll never forget the number she wore. It was 146.
Ready?
Yep.
I've of course seen that video multiple times, but it moves me every single time, as I'm sure it does you as well. But I think that it's important to understand Love 146, including our name, to hear our story, how we were thought about, and the spirit in which Rob Moritz and other co-founders came up with the idea to not accept what they experienced that evening, to fight for that little girl, and to then develop the organization called Love 146 in honor of her name, which is also part of the Convention of the Rights of the Child. Part of that convention states that a child has a right to a name, and that is so important with regards to their ability to claim rights as well. If a child is stateless or nameless, it's very difficult for them to do that. So we took upon ourselves to take that number because her name was stripped from her. Since then, we have been on a mission to implement our vision, which is the end of child trafficking and exploitation, nothing less. That is an audacious goal, and we do that through different types of programs. Our biggest focus, which Roberta will go into, is our US programs, including right here in Connecticut. And there's so many things that are unique to Love 146, including that we journey alongside children impacted by this awful situation, and also that we never close a case as well. So I'll hand over to Roberta to speak through some of the programmatic lenses we apply and also the work in Connecticut. Roberta?
Hi. So we're going to start making sure that we're all using the same definition. And we, at Love 146 utilize the TVPA, the Trafficking Victims and Protection Act, where it's any sex act for profit of another person or for profit. And in Connecticut, we use the Connecticut definition, which we work with minors. So it's any sex act in exchange for something of value. And we just like to make sure that we're all using kind of the same definition so that we're not, conflating with smuggling or anything like that. Thomas, we can go to the next slide. So the programs that we have at Love 146, I am the associate director for two of our survivor care programs in Connecticut, rapid response and long term, and I can talk more about that after. But the other programs that we have are our prevention program, and that's out of Texas. We have the survivor care program in the Philippines, and we have community engagement. And so, like I said, I am the associate director for rapid response and long term. I actually started similar to Genesis. It's great to see you, by the way. I started as a social worker doing long-term services, and then I was a clinical supervisor, and now I'm in this position. So I can talk a little bit more about here in the US and here in Connecticut. So again, I think definitions are important, that we're not talking about smuggling or kidnapping. We're talking about the issue of trafficking. And, we like to make sure that people, and I think you guys, I feel like I'm speaking to the choir because you guys seem to have a great understanding that it's not this thing that happens just abroad. I know sometimes that video kind of makes it seem like something happening in another country, but it's happening here. And so, for example, we have a caseload of about 60 kids at any time that we're working with. And we still, right now, to date, we have 65 kids on our wait list waiting for services. These are kids who are either very high risk, suspected, or confirmed victims of trafficking. Thomas, you can go to the next slide. So there are different pathways and ways that kids end up in these situations, different vulnerabilities, and part of our rapid response, which is a one-time visit when we meet with kiddos and talk to them about safety and about vulnerabilities, is this conversation around, what are the vulnerabilities? And so there's a lot of ways that kids end up being trafficked. We look at kids in the child welfare system, and there's 87%. That's a number has, I do I run part of my job is running the numbers for every quarter to see, where kids are, where are these vulnerabilities, looking at kids' histories. And we look at that data, and that number has stayed pretty consistent, that like most of the kids that we work with have some involvement in their history at some point of being involved in child welfare. They're often kids who are going missing from care, whether it's from their home with their parents or from their placement. There's often, the self-injury, there's mental health challenges, and all these things just lead to increased vulnerability for kids to be more susceptible for traffickers to take advantage of them. Go on to the next slide. So I wanted to do an impact story. And again, I'm being cognizant of time. We've got about 4 minutes. So I'm going to try and just quickly tell you a little bit about this kiddo. We have a kid who we're currently working with in our transitional services, which is another one of our programs. But prior to that, she was referred in 2023. She was 16 years old, and she was referred to us as a confirmed victim. She had been exchanging sex for things of value. At the time, she was committed to DCF, living in a group home, and initially our rapid response was canceled because she was missing from care. She was able to come back from care within a few weeks, and we were able to go see her later that month. But at that time, she declined long-term services. So we met with her. We did a one-time visit. But she chose not to engage with us in long-term services. She was re-referred the next year while she was at a juvenile justice facility, and we were able to engage her in long-term services at that time, and she completed work with us successfully, right? So in 2025, she met her goals around independence and coping skills, and so she was, no longer engaging in trafficking. She was no longer a victim of trafficking, no longer being victimized at that point, but she had continued need around support and independent living skills. So we referred her to our transitional services program, and she's continuing to work with them. Just the other week, I was able to meet up with her. Her transitional services worker was busy, meeting with other clients, and she was placed. She's currently staying close by to where I live. So they reached out and said, "Hey, do you mind giving some support?" And I was able to give her a gift card for groceries. And she continues to struggle with stable housing and employment. She recently had a pregnancy, and she's experiencing some challenges now as a parent with the child welfare system. And but we're still supporting her, right? We never close a case. And she's a kid who, even though in the beginning it was a rough start trying to get in front of her and trying to engage her, when she finally was able to, be at a point where she was ready to accept our services, we've been able to help her in looking at where she was when she started with us and where she is now. And even though life isn't perfect and she still continues to have struggles, we're able to support her to help try and get her to where she can be more independent and self-sustaining. So it's kind of a good impact story. So if you look at like our bigger impact, oh, sorry, Thomas, were you going to take this one? I can't remember. Okay, I'm not. So yeah, looking at our bigger impact. So we've worked with almost 4,000 kiddos in survivor care as a whole. I know in Connecticut, it's the numbers around 1,100, I want to say. Um, and in Preved, we've been able to reach over 100,000 children. And through our strategic collaboration, we've reached 22,000, almost 23. So, we've had some really good reach as far as who we've been able to connect with. And I think now I'm passing it to you, Thomas.
Yeah, sorry, Roberta.
No
I
worries.
difficulties coming off mute there. The last slide that we just want to share with you, dear friends, is kind of ways to support. Of course, financial support is always appreciated as priority one, two, and three, but it's also, as I mentioned in the introduction, advocating and spreading awareness about trafficking, and of course about Love 146's response. We have a tremendous amount of educational material, including parenting guides and different types of curriculum on our website. As far as volunteering, that is mainly focused on backpack packing drives. These are used in our rapid response programs, and of course, we have events, including quite a few events in the town that you see on the picture there, which is New Haven as well. So coming, supporting, and contributing to those events is part of the way to support. So with that, I will stop sharing the screen and hand back to Anissa. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. I am very moved by your presentation and Genesis. So I want to open it up to our Giving Circle members to please ask any questions. Feel free to unmute or type in the chat.
I just want to say I'm going to drop the website in the chat because your website is like filled with so many resources. Like I'm scrolling and I'm like, wait, I gotta make sure I look at that and that. So definitely everyone take the time to look at this, look at their website and see all the resources and videos on there. It's really jam-packed to continue learning beyond the Giving Circle as well.
Yes, CIRI's website is also in the chat. Could you go over specifically the work that you guys do in Connecticut?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So, like I said, we have some programs in Connecticut. We have our rapid response program, long-term services. We also have our transitional services program and our outreach and training program. And so, I'm the associate director for rapid response and long term. So, a rapid response is a one-time visit where it's kind of the intake, the initial connection we have with families. We get a referral from like it could be DCF, it could be someone like Genesis, it could be one of the other providers in the state. It could be sometimes families will refer their own, parents will self-refer for their children. And we do a one-time visit where we provide them a backpack and some initial information, and we do some assessment. So we have a good conversation with the kiddo. We talk about vulnerabilities. We talk about who they have as resources, and we either we make recommendations around other programs that could be helpful, or if it seems like they could benefit from our long-term services and they don't have other programs that are providing that's similar service, providing supports that are being useful, then we will engage them in long-term. And long-term services, we work with them anywhere from like 6 months, a year. It could be, we never close a case, so we could continue working with them for a year or two. And just provide them with support around goals. So we'll create a care plan with them, and we'll have goals around emotional regulation. We'll have goals around engaging in school, just anything that will help to prevent re-victimization and increase resiliency. Is that helpful? Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, I think so. I think that was super helpful. I'm going to go ahead and ask you the same question I asked Genesis. How would this grant be able to help your organization? How could this help further the work that you're already doing?
Thomas, I'll let you take that one.
Great. Let me go off mute. Absolutely. So as Roberta mentioned, our two main flagship program, so to speak, is the prevention education and the survivor care. So the support would help us kind of continue within those two programs. We currently do have a deficit, and we are also going into a strategic plan, which will start in July of this year for the next 3 years. Of course, unfortunately, having to scale our services because there's also an increased demand because we see that the prevalence rates are increasing as well. Just as an anecdote, I was working very late in the office the other day, and one of our social workers came in and asked, "What are you doing here so late?" And she said, "I have to pack the backpacks now because we're seeing such a high increase with regards to our referrals coming in, and I need to get these pre-positioned as well." And that was such a moment for me, that really stuck out to say, while we're doing great work, we're always lagging behind with regards to the needs. So these resources would actually help us continue to meet not all, but some of the needs that we are seeing an increase for.
Savon, you had a question?
Um, so thank you to both of you, or all three of you. Anissa and Tilia, it might be helpful just in terms of my thinking with the giving circle and impact of our gift to have an understanding, not necessarily today, but for when we have our meeting, of what budgets are for these orgs, and particularly maybe in relation to in Connecticut, if there's a way to get some sense of what that is so that we can take a look at and things like that. I'm not talking about audited financials or really tough things, but just a better understanding might be helpful, I think. It would be to me at least. But thank you all for the work you're doing and the education piece. So
Absolutely. Thank you. I know we had a question earlier about the baskets that CIRI does. Genesis, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so I did send over some materials, like one pagers, just so it can be like easy, about series services, Project Rescue, like program overview. The baskets, we put together some of the most common needs that the clients have, and then who you can contact, which is Julia, our volunteer program manager. And then I also put there, if you want to get involved, how what are some volunteer opportunities that you can get involved in. So those are like 4 separate one pagers that I sent over. If any, I can share with everyone, that might be helpful also. So you can continue learning more about CIRI. And then Anissa also will send you, we have our World Refugee Day coming up in June. It's in Bridgeport. I don't know how far it is for people, but that's also a great opportunity to, it's at the park, at the beach, and it's usually a really fun day where all clients from different programs come and get together, and they have like different like stations to do with kids. And they're doing this year like a walk. I think it's a 2 or 3 mile walk, kind of like the immigrant journey. So it's like different ways that people enter the country. So it'd be nice for people to walk and kind of learn like the pathways for each client that we're serving. So I'll send you more information about that. I don't think I included that material in the email.
Genesis, can you send that to us as well? I
Yeah.
know that some of my staff went last year and they really loved it.
Yeah, it's June 20th. And I think the walk is in the morning, and then it's usually 11 to 3. I think last year they even had like the firefighters come. I went with my son, they were drawing on rocks, and they were able to go inside the fire trucks. So they were very excited about being a firefighter for a day. So it's such a fun event, and hopefully the weather is good because it's at the beach at the park. So we'll see.
That's so sweet. Well, I have a question. I know we spoke about this at our last session. Right now, the world kind of feels on fire, and we're seeing a lot of cases of trafficking coming forward, and it can cause a lot of us to feel powerless and like we don't know what to do to help our communities. So, from two orgs that are professionally working on this, what is maybe your advice to the average person? How I know you all like mentioned some ways to get involved, but how do you keep doing this work? And how do people support you in doing this work and not get like kind of paralyzed from the overwhelming things that are in the media right now?
Yeah, so it's very tough right now. I think just spaces like this is very helpful, whether it's virtual or in person, and just sharing the information, um, and kind of like sharing resources and just educating. We just try to get in the community as much as we can because a lot of the clients, in order to the clients or even just the community members, in order for them to know what's going on, you have to kind of talk about it. And usually going into the space where you can find potential victims is always very helpful. A lot of the referrals, like I said, come from through another way. So just identify, like, if they know how to identify like the indicators, or just even calling the agencies to ask questions, even if you're unsure. You don't have to know for sure and investigate if the potential victim is a victim, but just reaching out to the organizations. There's a lot of great agencies in the state that are supporting survivors, and they have specific like niches or things that they can do. So just joining community collaborative meetings or events that are happening that are usually free are always like ways that you can, I guess, do your part in a smaller way, but it's very meaningful. Because there's a lot going on in the media. Again, I was just saying this the other day, if you look up trafficking, it's always like, oh, they're in the basement. And sometimes that doesn't look like that. A lot of our clients are not restricted, physically restrained, but they are in a very tough situation that they cannot get out of because they're being threatened about calling the police, about being deported. Sometimes their documentation is confiscated. Sometimes they work where they live, so they're being monitored at all times. And although people are like, oh, why didn't they just leave? Sometimes it's very hard, especially if they don't know the area, they're new to the country, they don't speak the language, they don't have community supports, they don't have family here. So it can be very difficult for them to get out of that situation. And it's not as easy as like, why didn't you just walk outside? So just kind of like, I know that you guys had the training last week and just understanding those trafficking indicators and then what that may look like and just asking questions. And then if they do get hurt at work, like, are you able to access medical care if you do get hurt? Because sometimes we do have clients that they were not able to access medical care after they received the cut. So just being more like mindful and asking questions and not just assuming that because they were in chains, they were not being trafficked.
And I would just add to my colleague Genesis there, which I agree with everything, but also we need to ensure that we are not collectively perplexed by the scale of the challenge, leading to an indifference or a lack of action there. Behind all the data, behind the huge challenge, trafficking presents, there are people behind this. Every single girl, boy, woman, man impacted by this, if we can make a difference within that single life, that adds tremendous value as well. And using that as motivation, learning from that to bring it to scale, but also again not being perplexed by the situation. I was in Houston last week for an event where I was faced with kind of similar questions and challenges there, but also hearing the stories really made me hopeful that we can all look at the subject matter, but then identify where we can play a part as well. No action is too small, no donation is too small to help within that collective impact, because it is a collective impact. It's a societal responsibility to respond. And that's always, even in our dark hours, we remind ourselves of that. And there's so many incredible supporters out there who stand on with us collectively rather than working against this.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have one last question, then I'm gonna let everyone log off. Can you just speak about how the awareness, like, has it brought down rates? Have you seen that being able to go into schools and speak to young people about trafficking? Have we seen data and how that helps with the prevention?
I'll quickly jump in here. It's a really interesting question because at the same time as we see referrals and prevalence increase, we also see that there's a correlation between that and awareness raising as well. So one of the initial hypotheses early within our collective responses was that if we build prevent awareness and then prevention measures to be able to prevent this, we'll see a decrease in the frequency that's happening. And while we do see a lot of evidence to suggest that, we also see that it has another consequence, which is a greater awareness, better understanding to identify it and to also make those referrals. So the ones who may not have been captured in the past or identified being at risk of trafficking, making those referrals actually increases. That said, dear friends, there is a huge under-resourced monitoring and evaluation and data gap within our sector that we also need to raise resources for, in addition to the direct service delivery response, which is priority one. But underpinning that at a macro level, both at federal and state level here in Connecticut, we need more data so we can make these investment cases and continue to improve our programs going forward.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Thomas, Roberta, and Genesis, for giving us your lunch hour to teach us about the work you're doing. And thank you so much to all of our Giving Circle members for joining us during your lunch hour to hear about the amazing work that is being done and to just keep the momentum going. And yes, it's so incredible to be a part of this community. This is recorded. We have notes. I will share all of the materials that are shared with me with all of you. So thank you all so much for joining today, and we will see you all next Wednesday.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
much. Have a great
Thank
day.
you so much,
Have a
everybody.
good one.
Thank
Thank you.